Hi, well, here we are for our... Shit, they moved the fireplace. Okay, here we are for our fireside chat. Now, if you'll notice today, this is not about product placement. However, if either Coors or Carlsberg decide to get in touch with me, I have no problem in selling them advertising space, just so you know. Actually, this morning when I was leaving the house, Stephen said, are you actually going to go into work like that? Are you actually going to go into work and wear that T-shirt? And I said, yeah, but then when I walked in here, Brian said the same damn thing. So just to make sure that everybody is happy, I am going to be just a little bit more formal. I don't know why, because Stephen Colbert has not worn a tie in ages. Okay, and he's been there. So there we go. Okay, Carlsberg, there you go. All right. I was just sort of sitting here, and here we go. Hans Koper was just an amazing ceramic artist. He and Lucy Rhee are two of the most incredible ceramic artists of the 20th century, and actually. Meg Burgess, Alan Burgess, they actually studied under Lucy Rhee and Hans Koper, which is kind of cool. So if anybody wants to get a really neat book, I mean, also anything by Peter, I think this is Peter Lane. Christ, how many do you think they would put? Yes, Tony Burks. Tony Burks does some incredible books. And this one is just, if you're interested in forms and all that, this is really, I mean, just look at that. I mean, there you go. Absolutely amazing forms, as you can see there. And so we're going to be talking about somebody today. But before we go on to talking about anybody, Brian, as you know, posted on in the still photo, and Katrina Chater. Katrina Chater is absolutely such a sweetheart. She is a Newfoundland artist who taught at the Alberta College of Art and Design and is currently back in Newfoundland. Her mugs are wonderful, and she is wonderful. She is about 5'2", smokes cigars, wears cowboy boots, and she's just, I adore her. She's just so much fun. And then for those of you who are into bears, Kevin Stafford, these are people whose birthdays are today. Kevin Stafford, Winnipeg, connected to the Stoneware Gallery, a good friend of Valerie Metcalf. Kevin also worked with Adrian Sachs as his tech out in California. And so if you're looking for something for the bear lovers. And then Julian Mahalics, also his birthday today. Julian is just this kick-ass artist that I've been comparing to Canada, that he will be Canada's Grayson Perry. And so here you've got all these wonderful little wrapped guys. And so there you've got 3 artists, 3 mugs, and all 3 mugs, oddly enough, are $65 a piece. So anyway, if you're looking to surprise somebody on their birthday, buy one of their mugs. And there we go. Now, today we are going to just sort of step away for a moment from ceramics, and we're going to talk about fiber art. And hopefully the fiber artist that we are talking about, Nancy Latchford, is hopefully she's watching, because when I screw up, and I am going to screw up for sure, at least Nancy is there to go. So anyway, I know that that's possibly going to happen. And right now, if she's watching this, she is going to be sitting there thinking, oh, for Christ's sake, what's he about to do now? Nancy is, we show Nancy, A, she's a very, very talented fiber artist. B, which is probably the qualifier, is that she lives in London. And because there isn't really a gallery, there's a couple of artists that we show who are media other than ceramic, and Nancy is one of those. And so consequently, we show her work, because also, as you know, our criteria is the work has to be good, The person has to be nice because dealing with somebody who's a pain in the ass is a pain in the ass. So Nancy is not a pain in the ass. She'll be pleased to hear that, I'm sure. But anyway, actually, I speak to Nancy every morning. She's self-isolating down in South London, or in Old South London, wherever the hell you want to call it. But anyway, so today we are talking about Nancy Latchford, and she is squirming, I know, as she is watching this. The first piece that we're going to lead off with, this is a piece that was done in an exhibition that was at the Woodstock Art Gallery. And as you can see, Nancy uses a lot of different thicknesses of fiber, and then those fibers are wound. And then you end up using, the wools and silks. There isn't any silk in this one. The fabric here is absolutely beautiful denim dyed. Anytime I've screwed up, Nancy, I'm sure, will be quick to point out. But look at that. The detail is absolutely exquisite. This is where she should have her label, which is not there. But we'll get on to her about that. But look at the quality of the work, the quality of the dyeing. Now, I don't know. One of the things is that there's a lot of interest in fiber art, and we've had a number of people taking classes because it's it's labor intensive, and B, she's a good teacher, and we have the space. So it brings in a group of people who get to understand how much damn work this is. Because, ceramics is a bargain. There is no doubt. Ceramic is an absolute bargain when it comes to the cost of ceramics. If you were to look at a really major piece of ceramic by a major artist who's alive, somehow or other when they die, it has a tendency, so maybe these are going to skyrocket. But when they're alive, their work is so affordable. But fiber art is even, for hours incorporated, it's even more insane. I'm going to show you a piece that actually is from that same exhibition. This piece is mine, so don't but isn't this incredible? And no, I didn't sit on it. This is intentional. And so you can see beautiful color. This has been done. There's a lot of really great machine stitching there. The copper, which is, look at the way the copper is high, but look at the regularity of the stitches. I used to do a lot of petty point and needle point, where at least you're working to a grid. But here you're not working to a grid, you're creating a grid. And I love the way that the lines just sort of move along, the fluidity. It's just absolutely, so remember, these were in the same exhibition. You still have a chance on this one, but you don't have a chance on this one because it is mine. And if you're wondering why it's here, if you know, and you've watched any of my home talk shows, dusting is not one of my fortes, so I get to use it. I get to enjoy it here without having to worry about it getting dusty, because I don't. Moving along, this is another piece that was from an exhibit. This piece was actually an exhibition here, but I love the incorporation, again, of the copper. And then, believe it or not, that little thing there is a piece of, I believe that is leather.
It's leather, yes.
So that piece of leather, which is just like an extraordinary detail that, it didn't have to be there, and if it wasn't there, you wouldn't miss it. But Nancy's attention to detail is really quite wonderful. And then there are elements here that are machine stitched, and then there are elements that are hand stitched. If anyone has ever done any needlework, you know that this really is absolutely an extraordinary amount of work. And and one of the things that is nice about fiber is that it gives. So that if that had been a pot, I'd still be in there like this, but I'm not. So there you go. So this is called Mesa. Nancy usually has terrible names, so I often will rename something. I have no idea why I called that one Mesa.
How much is it?
Oh, this one. Oh, yeah, money. This is only $450, but that probably represents. So she's getting at least, I would say, probably $1 an hour with this one.
Nancy, feel free to comment in the.
Yeah, don't just sit there in shock, Nancy. If you've got something to say, you say it, because nothing is more makes a program more interesting than peanut gallery comments. And here we have, look at this. I mean, what's really lovely here, I mean, you've got all the stitching, and you can see the regularity of the stitching, but it's the overstitching that is all that more exciting, and the way that it goes from the soft green into the blues up into the greens. Nancy dyes a lot of her fiber herself, which is really cool. And look down here, this looks, and I could be wrong, this looks to me like it is a paper cord, or but really quite wonderful. And underneath you've got the cork. By the way, anyone in London who's interested in taking one of Nancy's courses, if we're ever allowed to see one another again, please feel free to DM Brian, and he will tell you. And this is kind of like a chenille. It's absolutely wonderful. It's nice and soft. So I love the way that in the different fibers that she plays off one fiber against the other. The paper core is down here, but up here this is like a chenille. Yeah, that I knew was the paper core. I'm pretty good at looking at these things. Anyway, what did we call this one? We called this one number 4.
It's called Rain.
It's called Rain. So that's probably one where she had a name that I actually liked, because I don't recall calling that name. But isn't it? It's just wonderful, because as soon as you think of the rain, you can just sort of see that, sprinkling down the surface. And what's really nice is if you look at this painting, this is by Trevor Carter. Trevor Carter is a graduate of Beale. He also went to Ryerson and also went to Fanshawe. And what was interesting about Trevor is that he went to school, but not for art, because he didn't want to have some art teacher take away the spontaneity and the energy of what he felt was his own way of putting things through. Trevor's work is absolutely phenomenal. I'm really pleased. We're the only place that you'll see his work, and I love his work. We've had numerous shows. Actually, our 2010 show, Winging It, were paintings by his bird paintings, and that was when we introduced Judy Blake's birds, who we've talked about Judy Blake more than we need to. Anyway, so here we go. And then, the other thing, look at this covered piece. And
she hates doing lids.
Yeah. Well, everybody hates doing lids, because the thing about a lid is that it has to fit. And this lid does fit. And you've got the cork bottom, and then you've got the wool. And then this looks like this is not paper core. This looks like another material. Oh, this looks like it could be like a rattan or something. Yeah, I think it might be. And here's where it's been joined. Wonderful saw. This is almost like this is the type of coloring that reminds me of England. Because over there with the light and everything, see, yeah, I'm sure that this is, because this seems to be the junction point, but she's put this sweet
it's a round reed that she's dyed.
That's a round reed that she's dyed. I'm not dyeing. That was just a little bit of I guess these things do have a touch. Anyway, that is, but look at, and even the way the handle is sort of like, it's just, everything about it is perfect. And I love the way that the top color, the next color, there's a lot of thought that goes into this. And I'm going to have her do 2, and then I've got my Halloween costume. But I don't think that she'll want to. Matter of fact, I think that she's probably going to kill me for that one.
Well, at least you're not wearing a hat.
But yeah, no. But there you go. And here, this is a wonderful little. I've got to be careful that I don't insult anyone who's First Nation.
Does it have a title?
But it does. It's called Roots, which actually is really nice, because this references, the fact that we are visitors here, and the original people They are really our roots, and they are really, really important to our national identity. So this is actually a wonderful piece of homage to our roots, and to those of us who have been fortunate enough to have First Nations in our background. This really becomes a really fairly emotional piece when you look at it and you think of, because everything has a reason that she did it, and that there's the one that it's just wonderful, and you could put a little person in there if you want. Now here, this is one of the largest, if not the largest piece that Nancy has ever done. I absolutely love this, and one of the reasons that we were starting with my Holding the Hands Coper book was to lead into the reality that people borrow shapes, get shapes from other sources, and in this particular case, the inspiration was actually that page that I was showing you, which I've thrown away the marker, so I can't find it so quickly. But this is a homage to Hans Coper, and we watched this grow. But just look at the movement in colors, the way that this part, the vertical stitching, the vertical lines, just sort of accentuating the height of the piece. And again, just as in ceramic, just how we look for pieces that are not just technically, it's not just about the technique, it's also about the animation. And this piece has a wonderful element of animation to it. It is, I mean, for fiber art, this is a monumental piece, an extraordinary amount of work, and God knows how many broken nails, but it's just really wonderful. And look at the detailing up here on how it's been capped off, and it's just wonderful. This unclipped look, it's fabulous. It's just a beautiful, beautiful piece, very, very tactile. The nice thing about fiber art is that you don't have to worry. So for those of you who have cats or clumsy kids, or you're clumsy yourself, fiber art is the ultimate thing to collect, because it's just, and again, look how wonderful it looks with the other pieces of art. Notice I say other pieces of art as opposed to saying art. It drives me crazy when people come into the gallery and they're looking around at all the ceramics and they say, "Oh, you've got some nice stuff. Do you sell art as well?" And some of them make it out alive. The rest are buried in the basement. So anyway, so there you go. Just wonderful, beautiful, again, beautiful, beautiful colors. This almost has Scottish Highlands. It's got it. It's all right. Now here, let's not forget comedy. And any of you who have been into doing preserving, look at this. Doesn't that, now just let your minds wander for a moment. Mine wanders all the time, so you shouldn't have any difficulty if you have a mind anything at all like mine. But look at this. Now, what does this remind you of? And because I can't hear any of you, I'm going to tell you. This looks like a mason jar that has just sort of lost its jar. And instead, you have just look at that. Isn't that wonderful? It's just fabulous. It just looks like a mason jar. With all the contents gone, the glass gone, the lid gone, everything gone. So this is conceptually, is absolutely wonderful. We had a piece that Nancy had done that was done after her trip to Paris, and she was I don't know, she must have been hanging out with the dancers down in Montmartre, but it was just, it immediately, whoa, don't want to drop that. So anyway, it just really made you think of the not flamenco, because the flamenco can yeah. Anyway, so and we had it in the shop forever and ever and ever and ever. And this was when we were across the street. And then one day, I'll never forget, 11 o'clock, this person came in, saw it, and said, "I'll take that." And then 5 minutes later, somebody came in and said, "I've been looking at that piece for 2 or 3 years." And I just looked at them. I said, "You've got to be kidding me. I sold it like 15 minutes ago. I think you passed the woman on the way out." So, just because something's here for a while doesn't mean that it's going to be here forever. And this little mason jar is just waiting for somebody who doesn't want to do preserves, but who wants to preserve the concept. It's just absolutely wonderful.
And it's only $150.
And it's only $150. And the amount of work in here, I mean, I could do this if I was stoned and I was just looking for something to do.
But I don't think Nancy doesn't do that stuff, though. No. Don't get the wrong idea. But isn't it? Look at the colors, the everything, the energy. It's just so, it's just it's like one big gummy bear has gone wild and left a trail. And then there you go. And then these, okay, now this is interesting because you've got both the fluidity of line, which is quite wonderful, and then you've got all these circles. Now these circles usually have something in there.
There is.
There is like rings in there that she has rung. But look at the colors. The colors are absolutely spectacular. And it feels so nice. What I like is you can do things like that. You don't even have to worry, whereas I kind of don't do that with anything from our ceramic collection. And this, again, for all the time, $200, you got to remember, she's only getting $100. But so she does the labor, I do the talking, you do the buying. It's all really good, but it's really important because ceramic art is one thing. Fiber art is just, it's magic. It's and it's a different. One of the things about getting people excited about fiber art, one of the things about getting people excited about art, any kind of art, is getting them to understand what goes into it and getting them to open up their eyes so that they begin to get the feel for what the artist is trying to convey. And as I've said time and time again, whether you've been listening to me or not, the reality is any of us could learn the technique. Because really, what is the technique? She's got a piece of whatever that she's wrapped some cord around it. That's the technique. It's the same thing with a bowl. You get there and it's like, you got the bowl. You learn the technique. But learning the technique and being able to transfer that into something that has energy, that has animation, that is what takes it into art. And there we go. So here you've got, Brian's wearing a piece, and my head's too big, but, fashionista is often watching these things, and I think that we'll have to get her in because she would just, she'd probably have a big bow or something there. But again, look, the colors, it's just absolutely wonderful. So if you're looking for a place to put your balls, they would look so wonderful in there, like wooden balls, wool balls, whatever. But again, it's just so beautiful. Nancy's sense of color, because remember that these are colors that she has personally dyed and then determined what she's going to do with them. So to not only, this is, the equivalent is when a ceramic artist is going through the wabi-sabi moment and they're out there digging up the clay themselves and straining it. So instead what she's doing is she's actually taking the raw materials, because she could very easily, pop down to the corner wool store and pick out the colors from there, but that's not what she's doing. She is dyeing them so you get the nuances, you get everything is there, and we joke about how wonderful I look, but the reality is that I want you people to because somebody's, oh my God, fiber art, I'm going to go somewhere else. But the thing is that you have to look and you have to feel. I mean, look at all this stitching.
Well, the tightness of it too.
And the tightness. Nancy is nothing if not tight, in that her stitches are just absolutely the regularity. And when she's got her classes here and they're all sitting around talking fiber, and I'm hiding out in the back, but they're just, it's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Her work is fun. And then here, this is really neat because this you've got, she actually teaches a class in denim, not in here because that'd be too messy. Oh, and here she's finally we've got to do something about those labels. But this is the denim dyes, the machine stitchery, and then these coils. Look at those. I mean, just look at the way that it just sort of like spills over.
The animation.
Brian's stealing my vocabulary, and this and the price tag, which is this is an old price tag, so this is only $300. If this was coming in today, so there you go. It's even gone through 2 inventories, so there you go. But again, it's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And the animation, the quality of the design, Because remember, as you're moving along, I know when I was doing needlepoint, as your design is progressing, things change. So the whole thing for it to be successful is, did we talk about this piece?
Yeah.
We did?
Well, that's all about taking just like a pile of fibers and doing that and seeing how it ends up.
Oh, really? That's a grip that I understand. But there, yeah, it's just really, really quite
That
magical.
can hang on the wall.
You could, yeah, it could hang on the wall. It could hang out from the wall. And if you've got anybody who's into Dr. Seuss, I mean, again, you know, Nancy's pieces take you somewhere. I don't know where this one's taking you, but it's taking you somewhere, and it's magical. You know, like if you have kids, this is not, and this is nothing to do about it breaking. This is about having something that is a piece of art in the house that you don't care if your 2-year-old handles it. As a matter of fact, it would just add to it, and that's how kids can learn about art. So everybody who comes in panicking, so, oh my God, I got to wait till my kids grow up. Well, you don't have to wait till your kids grow up. You can teach them about art by having fiber art in the house and things that they can easily touch, and the colors and everything. It looks like, wow. It's just, yeah, wow. Okay, so there you go there. And then occasionally Nancy plays with paper. And here again, you've got the absolutely, I don't know if she's channeling Riopelle or something, but beautiful. And I think that did she make this paper herself?
Yes.
She even made this paper herself, which means she's got way more time in her hands than
Well, the
she needs.
stitching incorporated into
And the
that.
stitching, you know, so it really is quite wonderful the way that you've got the indigo colors, and then you've got all the other coloring, and then again you can see that she has had some threads left over, which is really nice, so nothing goes to waste. It's just and look at, even inside, when you look inside, you can see the quality of the work. It's not a mess. When I used to do needlepoint, it was always like the back should look as good as the front, and mine actually did. Hard to believe. And then here, now this is a piece where this was the start. That's because it's at the bottom, and there you've got this wonderful sexagonal form, and you've got all the different colors that are incorporated in there, and again you've got the cork down here, nicely stitched, and then but when she did this, it was like, and where am I going to from here? So from there she went up, but forms evolve, and this is what is really quite wonderful. All of these, it's very organic, but the time factor in all of these things is absolutely insane. And woo. See, now if that had been a vase leaning like that, I would have been a little bit more panicked, but now I get away with just a little woo, because you don't have to worry. So when you've got why are you laughing, Brian? Is anybody commenting?
It's like the Home Shopping Network.
Jeannie Becker. I found a photograph of Jeannie Becker in here. We really must post it at some point. But yeah, so it's just wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. So don't worry if you've got kids, because this is art that you can actually feel. And look, it's wonderful from so many different directions.
Can you hold this for a second?
And whoa, can I hold this for a second? Brian wants to get involved. So he's obviously gone off to find a piece that we've totally forgotten about, which is exactly what he's done. Oh, he's gone to find the minis.
Somebody wants something in the $45 range.
Oh,
those
look
are
at-
$45.
Somebody wants something in the $45 range, and here you go, like this little basket, a perfect place to put your pearls. And look again, the colors. What I love about these colors, so many. I don't know if any of you have been over to the UK. You're not getting there soon anyway. But this is a color that when I was last in London, this color was really, really hot. But this is never a color that you see over here. So Nancy's really tapped into a European sensibility in many cases with her color combinations. And of course, she is a world travel, loves fabric, and has all these resources at her fingertips to enhance. And again, this is like a lot of work. I mean, for $45, she's only getting $22.50. And she's not getting any more, because much as I love her, we have a rent.
Sold.
And this one has just sold to the person. So that's the last one of that. So, and whoever got that, congratulations, because you deserve it. And I'm so glad that my pattern worked. Nancy will be as equally as pleased. So this you have, again, we were talking about the insanity that occasionally these little things are, but who the hell just wants to hear somebody say, oh yeah, well here you do this, and then you do that, and then after that you get this, and then that is not what we're about. This is a fun place. We've got Brian behind the camera, we've got me in front of the camera, and he's got better shoes on than I have today, but that's okay. And then of course, the Trevor Kyle Carter paintings working as an excellent backdrop. And just before we meander, I've got to the birthday kids, and there you go, the birthday kids, Julian, Katrina, and Kevin. And we must really remember to acknowledge people on their birthday. And so that's what we're looking at there. So again, I really want to thank everybody who tunes into these things, because I never know who has until later. And that's usually when the artist contacts me and says, well, you really made a mistake there. And then the next day I have to go back and correct what I said, or they're correcting as I'm doing it. But that's like, I don't know if you remember the other day when I mentioned that something had India ink rubbed in, and all of a sudden Judy's, she's just spilled her wine, and Neil Brunswick is like, no, that's not it. So anyway, so here we are, and this is Nancy, and Nancy is wonderful. Her work is wonderful, and if we ever are allowed to have people again, Nancy does teach classes in the shop, which are really, really reasonable, and there we go, oh, there's Brian. I'll hold this. Maybe we should get a couple more of the pieces from the table there. That one that looks like a plate of spaghetti. Yeah. No, I was thinking of the other plate of spaghetti.
Oh, Crown Royal.
Yeah, Crown Royal. Look at the colors. As you can see, I'm multitasking. But here we go. There we go. It's codpiece. But again, look at the colors. So here, this looks as if she's used some bias, not in the way that she's designed it, but I mean that stuff that you do when you're doing things. But yeah, isn't that really fascinating? And just this total, it's just, and it's so, what I like. It's so tactile, and the other thing I like is that if we need to post anything, you don't need as much packing. And also we don't panic wondering if it's going to arrive in one piece. And this is that's only $120. Wow, that is pretty cool. But yeah, so wonderful there. And this, just picture this sitting on the table. You throw in your keys, you throw in whatever you want. It becomes a really nice receptacle instead of those tiny little dishes that you have that you throw your keys into and wonder if one day when it's going to break. You don't have to worry about that there. But this would be wonderful at a foyer table as a place to throw your keys, your gloves, your mitts, your ex-kid. There you go. And then this other tiny one, again, incorporating, the little pieces of cork, which is absolutely wonderful. The soft colorings. This is really, this feels so nice. It's, and this is number 13. That's my lucky number. It'll be really lucky if somebody buys it. So there you go. And there we are, folks. That is today's artist of the day, Nancy Latchford, London, Ontario. Mwah!